Namaste, Dhanava Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master, Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Mahārāja, we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 1, Chapter 18, Text 11. Rishayuchu Sutajiva Samhasomya Shasvatir Vishadham Yasa Yastvam Sam Shasi Krishnasya Martyanam Amritam Hina. The good sages said, O grave Sutta Goswami, may you live many years and have eternal fame, for you are speaking very nicely about the activities of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This is just like nectar for mortal beings like us. Purport. When we hear about the transcendental qualities and activities of the personality of Godhead, we may always remember what has been spoken by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 4.9. His acts, even when he acts in human society, are all transcendental, for they are all accentuated by the spiritual energy of the Lord, which is distinguished from his material energy, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Such acts are called divyam. This means that he does not act or take his birth like an ordinary living being under the custody of material energy, nor is his body material or changeable like that of ordinary living beings. And one who understands this fact, either from the Lord or from authorized sources, is not reborn after leaving the present material body. Such an enlightened soul is admitted into the spiritual realm of the Lord and engages in transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, the more we hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord, as they are stated in Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we can know about his transcendental nature and thus make definite progress on the path back to Godhead. Text 12. Karmanyasmin nanashvase dhumha dhumrataman bhavan apayati govinda padha padmasavamadu. We have just begun the performance of this fruit of activity, a sacrificial fire, without certainty of its result due to the many imperfections in our action. Our bodies have become black from the smoke, but we are factually pleased by the nectar of the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, Govinda, which you are distributing. Purport. The sacrificial fire kindled by the sages of Naimisharanya was certainly full of smoke and doubts because of so many flaws. The first flaw is that there is an acute scarcity of expert Brāhmanas able to carry out such performances successfully in this age of Kali. Any discrepancy in such sacrifices spoils the whole show, and the result is uncertain, like agricultural enterprises. The good result of tilling the paddy field depends on the providential rain, and therefore the result is uncertain. Similarly, performance of any kind of sacrifice in this age of Kali is also uncertain. Unscrupulous, greedy Brahmanas of the age of Kali induce the innocent public to such uncertain sacrificial shows, without disclosing the scriptural injunction that in the age of Kali there is no fruitful sacrificial performance, but the sacrifice of the congregational chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Sutta Goswami was narrating the transcendental activities of the Lord before the congregation of sages, and they were factually perceiving the result of hearing these transcendental activities. One can feel this practically as one can feel the result of eating food. Spiritual realization acts in that way. The sages of Naimisharanya were practically sufferers from the smoke of sacrificial fire and were doubtful about the result. But by hearing from a realized person like Sutta Goswami, they were fully satisfied. In the Brahma Vivarta Purana, Vishnu tells Shiva that in the age of Kali, men full of anxieties and various kinds of vainly labor in fruitive activity and philosophical speculations. But when they are engaged in devotional service, the result is sure and certain, and there is no loss of energy. In other words, nothing performed for spiritual realization or for material benefit can be successful without devotional service to the Lord. Text 13. Tulhayama labhenapi nasvargam na punharbhavam bhagavat sangi sangasya martihanam kim utashisha. The value of a moment's association with the devotee of the Lord cannot be compared to the attainment of heavenly planets or liberation from matter, and what to speak of worldly benedictions in the form of material prosperity, which are for those who are meant for death. Purport. When there are some similar points, it is possible to compare one thing to another. One cannot compare the association of a pure devotee to anything material. Men who are addicted to material happiness aspire to reach the heavenly planets like the moon, Venus, and Indraloka. And those who are advanced in material philosophical speculations aspire, after liberation, from all material bondage. When one becomes frustrated with all kinds of material advancement, one desires the opposite type of liberation, which is called apunar bhava, or no rebirth. But the pure devotees of the Lord do not aspire after the happiness obtained in the heavenly kingdom, nor do they aspire after liberation from material bondage. In other words, for the pure devotees of the Lord, the material pleasures obtainable in the heavenly planets are like phantasmagoria, and because they are already liberated from all material conceptions of pleasure and distress, they are factually liberated even in the material world. This means that the pure devotees of the Lord are engaged in transcendental existence, namely in the loving service of the Lord, both in the material world and in the spiritual. As a government servant is always the same, either in the office or at home or at any place, so a devotee has nothing to do with anything material, for he is exclusively engaged in the transcendental service of the Lord. Since he has nothing to do with anything material, what pleasure can he derive from material benedictions like kingship or other overlordships, which are finished quickly with the end of the body? Devotional service is eternal. It has no end because it is spiritual. Therefore, since the assets of a pure devotee are completely different from material assets, there is no comparison between the two. Sutta Goswami was a pure devotee of the Lord, and therefore his association with the rishis and Naimisharanya is unique. In the material world, association with gross materialists is veritably condemned. The materialist is called Yoshit Sangi, or one who is much attached to material entanglement, women, and other paraphernalia. Such attachment is conditioned because it drives away the benedictions of life and prosperity. And thus the opposite is Bhagavat Sangi, or one who is always in the association with the Lord's name, form, qualities, etc. Such association is always desirable, it is worshipable, it is praiseworthy, and one may accept it as the highest goal of life. Text 14. Konama tripyed rasavit katayam mahatmaikanta parayanasya nantam gunanam agunasya jagmor yogeshvaraye bhava padmamukya. The personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna, Govinda, is the exclusive shelter for all great living beings, and his transcendental attributes cannot even be measured by such masters of mystic powers as Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. Can anyone who is expert in relishing nectar, rasa, ever be fully satiated by hearing topics about him? Purport. Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma are two chief demigods. They are full of mystic powers. For example, Lord Shiva drank an ocean of poison, of which one drop was sufficient to kill an ordinary living being. Similarly, Brahma could create many powerful demigods, including Lord Shiva. So they are Ishvaras, or lords of the universe, but they are not the supreme powerful. The supreme powerful is Govinda, Lord Krishna. He is the transcendence, and his transcendental attributes cannot be measured even by powerful Ishvaras as Shiva and Brahma. Therefore, Lord Krishna is the exclusive shelter of all the greatest. Lord Krishna is the exclusive shelter of the greatest of all living beings. Brahma is counted amongst the living beings, but he is the greatest of all of us. And why is the greatest of all the living beings so much attached to the transcendental topics of Lord Krishna? Because he is the reservoir of all enjoyment. Everyone wants to relish some kind of taste in everything, but one who is engaged in transcendental loving service of the Lord can derive unlimited pleasure from such engagement. The Lord is unlimited, and his name, attributes, pastimes, entourage, variegatedness, etc., are unlimited, and those who relish them can do so unlimitedly and still not feel satiated. This fact is confirmed in the Padma Purana. Ramante yogino nante satyananda chidatmani iti rama pade nasho param brahma vidhyate. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasures from the absolute truth, and therefore the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is known as Rama. There is no end to such transcendental discourses. In mundane affairs, there is the law of satiation, but in transcendence, there is no such satiation. Sutta Goswami desired to continue the topics of Lord Krishna before the sages of Naimisharanya, and the sages also expressed their readiness to hear from him continuously. Since the Lord is transcendent and his attributes are transcendental, such discourses increase the receptive mood of the purified audience. Text 15. Tanho bhavanvai bhagavat pradhano mahatmaikanta parayanasya harer udharam charitam vishudham shushrushatam no vitano tu vidvan. O Sutta Goswami, you are a learned and pure devotee of the Lord, because the personality of Godhead is your chief object of service. Therefore, please describe to us the pastimes of the Lord, which are above all material conception, for we are anxious to receive such messages. Purport. The speaker on the transcendental activities of the Lord should have only one object of worship and service, Lord Krishna, the supreme personality of Godhead. And the audience for such topics should be anxious to hear about him. When such a combination is possible, namely, a qualified speaker and qualified audience, it is then and there very much congenial to continue discourses on transcendence. Professional speakers and a materially absorbed audience cannot derive real benefit from such discourses. Professional speakers make a show of Bhagavat Sapata for the sake of family maintenance, and the materially disposed audience hears such discourses of Bhagavat Sapata for some material benefit, namely religiosity, wealth, gratification of the senses, or liberation. Such Bhagavatam discourses are not purified from the contamination of the material qualities, but the discourses between the saints of Naimisharanya and Sri Sutta Goswami are on the transcendental level. There is no motive for material gain. In such discourses, unlimited transcendental pleasure is relished both by the audience and by the speaker, and therefore they can continue the topics for many thousands of years. Now Bhagavat Saptahas are held for 7 days only, and after finishing the show, both the audience and the speaker become engaged in material activities as usual. They can do so because the speaker is not Bhagavat Pradhana, and the audience is not Shushrushtaham. as explained above. So, thus ends our reading for today. We'll continue from text 16 on Monday, hopefully. All glories to Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Sripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Mahārāja Ki Jai. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Guru Dev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Shanta Maharaj Ki Jai. All glories to our Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Nishinkapuli Dham Ki Jai, Ekachakra Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Gira Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham Ki Jai, Sham Kund Radha Kund Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi, Bhakti Devi, Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai Gora Pramanandi, Hari Hari Bol, Dhanava Pranam.